everyone, welcome back to another scrapbook process video. I am really excited to be back making videos. There is so much going on. I apologize if my voice gets a little croaky sounding. Um, I'm still recovering from my back surgery. I will talk more about that later if I have time, but it's been a lot and a lot more recovery time than I expected. And so I'm going to start by talking about the layout. And well, before I do that, I do want to apologize that this video is again another long one. I promise not all my videos will be these long videos, but this layout really kind of threw me for a loop. And it was a lot. I kind of had to go in one direction and then stop and then go in another direction and stop. So first off, I'm using a sketch that I saw by Paper Issues. I have really been enjoying the sketches they've been sharing. I want to say it's once a week they put out a new sketch. So that was a lot of fun. I saw this sketch and I immediately knew because of the florals on the photo that I really wanted to use the sketch. And originally I had thought that the four squares that's on each side of the sketch would be different pattern papers. And okay, so I started to do work on this layout and record this video before I did my most recent haul video. And in my most recent haul video, I was talking about petite prints and Bellavestis. And what I was saying was that I didn't always have the right color or the right pattern on it. This is why, because in the photo there was some blue florals and I really wanted to bring out the black and blue. I've got tons of pink here, so that will all work. And I've got a little bit of red, but I didn't have any of the blue. I looked in my Bellavestis. The blue I had would not work. I don't know if it was like a different kind of shade of blue. And I even looked in other Bella Boulevard collections and I just could not find that blue. So, of course, when I looked online at this Let's Scrapbook collection, there it was on the B side of a pattern paper that I didn't have. So that is really what got me thinking differently about shopping for petite prints and collections. But I will bring that up more in future haul videos or future videos. If you have more questions, just let me know. Um, so what I decided to go ahead and do was just use this pattern paper, which is kind of like a wonky grid line with all of the colors. And I thought I'm going to try these and see how these work with just doing all four squares the same color. And I actually really like it. I think it's less busy than a pattern paper would have been. And it's also it has all of the colors, so I could do whatever I want with the florals. And it works out really well. So here in the beginning, I am going to cut them down by 2.5 by 2.5. And I'll talk about this in just a minute, but these do end up being a little large. Now here I'm going to use this floral die set by scrapbook.com. I think it's called Sunny Days or something like that. I really like this die set. There's so many florals in it and you can stack and layer them all different kinds of ways. So it is a really good floral if you've been looking for a good floral. And it also has a nice embossing texture. So some of them, with mine, the way I layered mine up so much, you couldn't really see, but I think if you use like an alcohol marker or something like that along the embossed parts, you could really bring out that embossed part and make it look even better. I'm still new to the alcohol markers with metal dies, so I'm scared and I didn't want to ruin any of this because that triangle piece of paper is the only paper I have to cut out my florals with. So originally I cut this one out here, this large pink one. I did want to use the large pink one or large floral dies a little bit bigger, but going back to not having the blue, I really wanted the blue florals in there as well. So this was all the bigger I could get was this blue from that triangle paper. So I'm going to end up cutting out just a bunch of different florals. I don't really pay attention, just trying to mix it and match quite a bit. But I'm going to use up basically all of this triangle paper. And I'm really quick going to say here that if you don't have this tool and you are into metal dies, go get it. It's this magnetic like nail wand for nail polish, but watch it pick up these dies off the magnetic sheet. Oh, it's just so amazing. They just come right up. And if you do want one of these, this tool is my new best friend. It's really new to me. But if you want one, you don't need a name brand by any means. Just go find one on Amazon. Just look up nail magnetic nail wand and so many of them will pop up. I think I got like a 2-pack for like $6 or something. So yeah, don't worry about buying the expensive name brand. Um, Anyways, back to cutting the dies. I am just going to go through and cut a bunch of florals out of this triangle paper because, like I said, it's the only blue I had. And so that really kind of threw me. That was one of the loops or one of the struggles I had was trying to figure out. Again, I wanted a little bit bigger of a floral, but what I end up doing is just adding a few more florals in to kind of fill in the gap. So, um, go back to talk about the squares right now. You can see here that the 2.5 by 2.5 are just too big. And the reason I did that, I can't remember. I've done this voiceover so many times now that I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I'm so out of, I feel like I'm doing the voiceover for the first time again in the longest, like ever. And I know it's been a while, but it's not like I've never done this. So I really hope you guys will be patient with me as I get this all figured out. I just can't believe how hard this is. It's kind of like, yeah, my throat keeps wanting to close up on me. I don't know. If you're still watching, thank you. I promise I will get better. Um, Anyways, let's go back to the layout. This is where I decide to go ahead and I was kind of scared to cut these squares down because again, I only had one sheet and this is the opposite side of that triangle paper, which was the only paper I had to cut my florals out of. So I basically got this whole layout out of one sheet. So, I mean, in the long run, that's kind of cool. If you look at it like that, I didn't need really any of the embellishments. I just needed a die set and a piece of paper and I got all this entire, and I love the way this layout turned out. I did add a few extra embellishments but not many, but you will see that. So um, I didn't realize that until just now. So that's kind of interesting. Anyways, I'll talk about my shopping on another visit. I went ahead and did cut them down, and I do like the 2x2 size. I went with the 2.5 by 2.5 because my photo was bigger, but I ended up cutting my photo down or printing it just slightly smaller. And I figured I'm going to have enough florals to kind of fill it in that it would look okay. So, and also at this point, I went for it, and if it didn't work, it didn't work, and I just have to figure something else out. But I didn't like the bigger squares. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down my squares here, and you can see they fit in there much better. They're just not so big and in your face and bulky. And here's the photo that I reprinted. It took me a few times to reprint it, and I have to tell you, I got all the way done with this layout and there's some like gooky piece, like I think a piece of adhesive or something, which I don't even know how it got on there on part of the photo. So I'm going to have to go reprint this photo again, but that's okay. So I won't leave a lot of this in here. Like I said, this layout kept throwing me for loops and I kept having to work on one part to do another part. So here I'm going to try to add in the stitching, and I wanted to show you just a little bit of this. I'm not going to show the stitching, but I am going to just add in, and I don't really measure how far up and down I go. I just want to make sure that it's going to go a little bit taller than the photo, or kind of just so that it doesn't line up with the photo where the photo is going to go. And then on the other side, I'm just going to make it just a little bit smaller than what it is on the bottom side. Um, on the sketch, it does have some stitching marks. Now, if I would have looked at this, so when I was originally doing this, I was thinking I was going to do a full sketch the entire or stitch the entire way. But what I end up doing is just doing every like other hole so it really looks like a dashed line like it has on the sketch. So if I had to go back and do it, I would have done the stitching holes closer together to make it a little bit tighter of a kind of dashed look. If you don't want to sew or anything like this, you could easily do it and make it with like a pin, like a make a faux stitching look. It would be so easy to do it and it would look just as great. So don't feel like you have to stitch. I just wanted to do, I kind of kind of getting into the stitching on the layouts quite a little bit more. Um, do want to tell you I have this ruler that is kind of newer to me as well. And it's really cool. I don't know if you saw me try to wiggle it back and forth, but it did not move. Um, but this is where the holes were a little bit further apart. It made poking the holes really super simple and easy. And but yeah, if you want to do just like a dashed line, just put a ruler up and kind of dash with a pin, and it would look just as good. And I am going to stitch it in black, which is why I had to stop yet again and go in a different direction because I didn't have any black thread. So now I'm just going to go ahead and play around with all the florals that I printed and where I want them to go. And this is a little bit longer of a part, but I didn't know how much of this I should leave in and how much I should, cut out. And I really did cut out a lot. But I wanted you guys to, I mean, this whole layout really is basically those squares, the stitching, and the florals. And the florals are the biggest part. So you can kind of see here, I'm really going to have to play along. I'm going to pull down, by the way, if I didn't mention that my Anna, we call it the Annas. Um, what is it? I don't actually know what it's called, but the Anna Griffin Empress, that's what it's called, die cutting tool. That is the best thing ever. Oh my gosh. If you like die cutting, go get one of those tools or one of those die cutting machines. They are a bit of an investment, but it's so worth it. So I'm just going to tell you that now. So I am gonna, and I have the mini one sitting right like on the shelf in front of my desk. So it's so easy. You're gonna see me here. I need a blue or some color, and I want to fill it in there. So I'm just easily going to grab my machine down. Here's where I grab the machine or the die cutting sheets, but it's so light and so easy just to grab down off that shelf and have it, and it's always plugged in. So anyways, I'll quit talking about that machine now, but I really highly recommend it. So here's where I start pulling in the blue flowers, and it just makes those clusters what I wanted them to be. And I'm really glad that I had that triangle paper. Um, when I'm building this, I didn't realize that I had this bottom cluster that I'm working on here so far to the right of the photo. When I'm done building the cluster, I am going to take a picture, and then I look at the sketch and I realize it just needs to be over to the left just a little bit. So I don't move everything right now, but I do have that in mind. And when you see me, it doesn't move a ton, but I do make sure to move it over so it's more under the photo a little bit so that it's more towards the corner of the layout. I hope that's making sense, but right now it's just too far to the right. Now this would work perfectly if you added just a tiny little floral cluster to the top left of the photo. So you had a triangle. Now that would look really pretty too. But I wanted you to know that I did have those thoughts in mind. And so before I start, I'm still waiting here. I still didn't have the black floss, so I couldn't stitch, and I didn't want to glue anything down before stitching. So what I am going to do with all of these, I didn't do it with the centers of the flowers, but I am going to do it with all the main flowers, is I'm going to take this is nothing new, 3 layers of white cardstock and glue the pattern paper on top of that just to give it some dimension. I use a little bit of foam adhesive on the layout, but really not a lot. It doesn't need too much with this, the thickness of the 3 layers of the cardstock. I really like to do that. A lot of people do that. It's really nothing new. Um, I do like to do 3 layers myself personally, but you can do 2, you could do 1, you don't have to do any at all. You could use foam adhesive, it would still all look really great. Now on the sketch, it had a couple layers of paper behind the photo, and it also had a tag. And this was another point where I thought maybe I would use that black thread, was at the top of the tag. But I didn't really have any pattern papers that looked really good up there, and I was thinking the red, and I'm really limited on what I could back it with. So I ended up, I do think I may have pulled this out. What is that? I don't remember where I got that from. I don't know if that was part of the She Loves Color, or no, excuse me, the Let's Scrapbook papers or not. Um, but I did pull that out. It might have been in my Bella Besties or in my Petite Prince that I got that bluish paper. And then this piece, I will say, this is an exclusive piece that I got because I attended the virtual She Loves Color event quite a few years ago. And so you got a few extra as like a bonus pattern paper sheets. So that pink one is from that, but I wanted something a little bit different. No hearts, no really shapes, you know. Um, so I have these two, and then I am going to try to see what it looks like with that red tag. But the red tag just, I didn't like it at all. It just does not look good. So it goes. But you can see here that I do have the stitching on the sides. Again, that would be super simple and easy to do with just a pin. Now I'm going to going to layer the pattern papers behind the photo, but before I do, I want to make sure the way that I have them, because they're a little bit wonky on the sketch, and I liked that, so I wanted to keep the little bit of wonkiness to it. But I want to make sure I get my title in. So again, I'm going to basically follow the sketch where they have the title is where my title is going to go. And the title is on the same thing that I titled the video that I shared, where I shared that I was on the podcast. And it's just going to say, I'm on a podcast. And then in the journaling below, which I apologize, the still shot does not have the journaling below. I completely forgot. And honest and excuse me, the still shot photos at the end, I took a couple extra like different angled photos so you could see the clusters up close. I deleted them and I apologize. I thought that I had already downloaded them. I can't find them, and I'm not allowed to like bend down and take pictures and anything like that. So I am not going to worry about taking more pictures for the still shots in the end. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Um, so I do apologize about that, but I'm sure you guys won't mind. There is a still shot photo of the full layout, and that's the most important part. Um, but I really like this title. I'm on a podcast. It fits really good there. I loved using these. I don't know the name. These are the Bella Boulevard Puffy alphabet stickers. Again, I don't know the name, but I love these. I've decided that every time I order, I might have to throw in a color of one of these. They are just fun. You know, I'm not huge on alphabet stickers anymore, but these ones are just so. I wish they made a die with this playful font. If they made a die, I would definitely buy it. But I still don't think it would be as cool as having that puffy font or puffy texture to it. So, um, yeah, anyways, I really like that. And then, so it fits perfectly here, and I'm going to glue it down first so that I make sure it is in its spot. I didn't want it to go over the squares at all. And then that way, I'm just going to temporarily kind of glue this one down. And what I really like with the photo stack is that, and it does get moved a little bit. I don't remember why I have to move. Oh, because I wanted to add foam adhesive behind it. But I liked how the corners where the papers are all kind of wonky kind of fit perfectly with the letter P from podcast. So just playful thinking about things like that when you're putting your layout together where things line up and meet. And um, I do want to also say that before I moved my cluster, before I moved everything off to stitch on the layout, I did make sure to take a picture with my phone so I would know how everything was lined up. And I do think that adding the green leaves in, even though there's no green in the photos, that really helped as well. So really quick, before I talk more about what I'm doing on the layout, I did want to talk, number one, this back surgery, like, wow, I pretty much have at least another month before I'm really able. I have to wear a brace. I have to use a walker. I had no idea, you guys. Like, this is kind of like I'm in awe that I had no idea that I had this much recovery coming. Um, so just bear with me. I don't think there will be, I do have one, possibly two other layouts that I was lucky enough to get recorded before going on, before having the surgery. So just bear with me. I'm hoping that I'm not allowed to sit at my desk because I can't bend over. Um, so it's a long story. anyways, keep your prayers going. So far, I think it's going okay. It's been a lot, definitely for sure. So, with that being said, I do appreciate everybody's well wishes and prayers so far, and it was a scary time. However, let's move on. The podcast that I'm on, I did have a couple questions. One was, do you have to pay to listen to the podcast that I am on? And yes, you do have to sign up for the podcast to hear the one that I am on, but it's only $5 a month and you are able to cancel anytime. But if you do only want to sign up for a month, I say go and listen to a bunch of them. I've listened to about two of them so far, and both times I was really captivated and like really interested in what they were talking about and what they were saying. And I even wanted to get out my notebook and take notes. Um, so it's definitely worth listening to. Maybe you'll like it more than you think and will want to cancel. And again, if you only want the 1 month, go get all the, there is like free added bonus monthly content every month. So yeah, I go check it out. And that brings me to another question, which was, is there a list of all the past added monthly content? Like just like one big page of links you can go to? And no, there's not. And I can see why they didn't do it, because people would just go on and share that too easily with friends. Um, so there is not like a big major master list, but at the beginning of every podcast is when they will say, um, give you the link that you can go to for that monthly content. So definitely give it, if you only sign up for a month, give it a really good try and use your $5 worth, because you will definitely get that much out of it. So, and I appreciate all of you who have gone and signed up and supported them so far. It was a lot of fun to be on their podcast, and I wouldn't mind doing it again in the future. So if you have any more questions, you can leave them below and I will try to answer them. Um, yeah, it, it was a lot of fun. And also, they have a Facebook group, which I don't think you have to be part of the podcast to join the Facebook group. And it's kind of a fun Facebook group. So, they have like where you can share your work that you've done or different people's ideas and comments about the podcast. And so go check that out as well. Um, I will try to remember to leave a link below for that. Now, I think that was all that I had to say, and we can go back to the layout. When I started gluing the flower clusters down, I know I mentioned bringing it more to the left underneath the photo. I still didn't accomplish that as well, but by the end, it does fill in. Eh, it's not maybe my favorite parts down there. I do feel like there's some kind of trapped empty space, but it's really okay. By the time the layout's all done, I'm really happy. It's like the last thing I really noticed. So for this alphabet, I think these are super old alphabet stickers that I've kept because they're just fun to use and they're really sticky, and they just worked perfectly for this title. My journaling is going to go underneath, just like it says on the sketch. It's going to go underneath the title. Again, I'm sorry that I completely forgot that I had to do the journaling before taking a picture, but I'm totally okay with that. Um, Maybe I will try, if it's super important for you guys to see, maybe I will try sharing a picture of it somewhere. Um, but for now, that's what it is, right? So now I'm just going to glue down the floral clusters, and I did use some foam adhesive behind the photo and behind a couple of the main flowers. And I'm just using I think it's what, 1 millimeter? I don't know the size, but it's by scrapbook.com. It's my favorite foam adhesive. It's just like this really thin foam adhesive, so it doesn't add too much, but it just adds just enough. And we're kind of coming towards the end of this video, and you're probably thinking, thank goodness. Anyways, we're not super close to the end, but one thing I found after fiddling for so long trying to figure out what I wanted the middles of the flowers to be and which color where and what size where, I fiddled with that for so long. And then I remembered that I had puffy stickers. Now, the one pack I wanted, I know is somewhere, and it still drives me nuts because I still don't know to this day where they are. And I looked so many places. but I had some puffy stickers and it was from their My Candy Girl collection, and it had just a bunch of floral puffy stickers on it. And I was so like disappointed because I knew that I wanted some of those puffy stickers added onto this. So while looking for them, I did luckily find this pack. I can't remember what that one's from, but I can link it below if you would like to know the puffy stickers that I'm using there. And I also used some puffy stickers from another collection of theirs. And luckily there was just enough flowers. I searched everywhere and yeah. So keep your fingers crossed that I can find it someday. I will. It really bugs me more than anything. I don't care that the layout's over, but it really bugs me not knowing where it is. So one of the things I cut out was me going through at the beginning of this layout and picking out all the ephemera pieces I might want to use. Well, you can see I didn't use any of those ephemera pieces. But so at this point, I was like, maybe I could still add some of those in. I thought the buttons would be really cute as centers for the flowers, but the flowers were too big and the buttons, or excuse me, the buttons were too big and the flowers just were kind of too small for that. I did on, I think, either this sticker sheet here or the chipboard sticker sheet, found that little square with the bow that I have glued to the left of the photo. And I think it was says born to craft or something like that. I really wanted to use that on this layout. I really liked the way it looked. So it kind of filled in the bottom cluster. Again, I'm not maybe super crazy about how this bottom of this cluster looks, but I think in the end it looks good enough that, and with the whole entire layout as one, I really like this layout. So I'm not going to really cry too much over not liking the flowers being too far to the right. Um, I think one of the things that I do after the video was over, because there was a couple flowers I noticed that didn't have centers. And I was like, oh, dang, I need to add centers. But I thought it was just too short of a little process to go ahead and add, record. So when I was doing that, I went ahead and added some gems around the clusters too, which really brings that around as well. But overall, I'm really happy with how this layout turned out. It was a lot of work and kind of back and forthness, like I said, but it's really, I love the florals. And again, I think it's kind of cool to look at and think, hey, I did this with just one piece of scrapbook paper. So that again also makes me think differently a little bit about shopping in the future. Although that would be really hard unless you had your layout planned out. That would be kind of hard, but also maybe a fun challenge. So um, something to think about in the future. Yeah, for sure. So now I'm just gluing down. I contemplated adding the yellow in. Again, the puffy stickers that I had, I didn't have a lot of different colors, but I had the yellow puffy flower up in the top right. I believe it's a puffy flower. So it felt really off having just that one yellow puffy up in the top right and no yellows down in the bottom left. So I am going to add a little bit of yellow down there. Um, and I pretty much use mostly just puffy stickers in all of the centers of the flowers. I think there's maybe two or three that I use just paper, and it really, I cut out a lot of the playing around of what's going to go where, but I wanted to leave in quite a bit of the process since this is the major part of my layout. I wanted to leave that in and let you guys kind of see why I'm putting the colors where, really trying to mix and trying not to have too many of like blues right next to each other. But that was hard. The colors are in such tight clusters that it was really hard. So I just made sure to not do every flower like purple and pink and pink. I did a couple purposely, like you can see in the top right, that kind of teal blue has like the tealish um, puffy sticker in it. So I just kept things like that in mind. And I believe another thing that I did after I shut off the camera was I added a couple more floral pieces to kind of go over the title a little bit more. So I really like the way it looks now, but when I added a little leaf piece, I think I had it a leaf. I was kind of starting to clean up a little bit. And I had another leaf piece that I decided to just try. And when I put it up there, it looked really cute. So you can see that in the still shot photo in the end. And then there was these little tiny puffy hearts, or excuse me, florals. They're kind of florals. I mean, only have like 4 petals, but I consider them florals. So I went ahead and added those around in the clusters. Um, this big pink one kind of was struggle. I thought maybe I would add this black since there is some black in the layout. I did try to add maybe the black on the flowers, but that just was not happening. So just if you're working on a layout like this that's giving you troubles, one thing that really worked for me was going, if I couldn't get this cluster to work or this center of this flower to work very well, I took time and I went and worked on a different part of the layout. And that really helped kind of give me a break so I wasn't too overwhelmed with one part of the layout and just got so frustrated that I gave up on it. I hope that makes sense. But if you're getting really frustrated with a part of your layout, try, working on a different part of it for a little while, or even maybe setting it aside and coming back to it. There have been times I am not one that likes to put my layouts aside and coming back to it, but if you need to do that, sometimes it can really help and you can kind of come to it with fresh eyes. Let me know if you've ever tried that, if you've ever had to step away from a layout or a part of a layout. I would love to know that, because if we push ourselves through, I know I've tried to push myself through and I've done it. Like I've actually pushed myself through. And if I go back and look at my layouts, I remember pushing myself through on those. And they're usually layouts that I don't care for. There's one I have in mind that I want to go back and re-scrap the photo because I just don't like the layout at all. Um, but with that being said, we are coming to the end of this video. The still shot photo is going to be at the end, and you will see a couple of things that I maybe changed up. I hope you like this video. Again, I'm sorry it was another really long process video. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I will get better at doing these voiceovers. This one was a little bit of a rough start, but I got it done anyways. And let me know again if you've joined the podcast and if you are enjoying listening to them. So thank you very much. This is my layout, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much, guys. All right, bye.